Life has been feeling really chaotic right now, especially because we're juggling responsibilities, relationships, and maybe that lingering question, am I on the right path? In East Asian medicine, life is seen as this journey through 9 core lessons, and each is housed in what we call one of the 9 houses. So this year, each month, one of the new 9 houses or lessons comes into focus, and that's going to guide us to a deeper understanding and alignment with ourselves and our relationships if we're willing to follow the flow. So this April, the spotlight is on the house 9, which is the house of prosperity. Here's the thing. It's not prosperity in the traditional sense of the word, like wealth. It's about what we create in life. So it's about what we give. It's about how we show up in relationships, how we support others, and the quality of energy that we offer to the world. It's not about our ability to accumulate wealth. How do you know when you are flowing with the energy or when you're flowing against the energy? So let's look at flowing with the energy first. So when you're flowing with the energy of the 9th house, you're going to do things like offer help without expecting something in return. Or you're going to want to help someone become the best person they can be. You're going to share your knowledge to empower others, even when it's inconvenient. So you create, support, or serve from this place of internal abundance. There's this confidence that you have enough and there is enough. It's not this world of not enough or depletion. So let's look at the other way. When are you flowing against the energy of this month? Well, here you might feel resentful when others ask for help. Judgment, you like focusing on differences, and that enables you to take more from the world. You withhold your talents or insights out of fear or out of competition, or you give, but with strings attached or a sense of obligation. I've been sitting with this a lot lately, especially with the question of how do we know when we're out of balance in this area? I mean, all of what I said, that's really great, but I actually need something a little bit more real. So one word kept on coming up for me, and that is greed. And not necessarily financial greed, but also emotional or energetic greed. So that need to hold the spotlight, that need to be number one, that need to be recognized at the expense of others. That feeling of holding on too tightly to your time, your gifts, or your compassion. So this month invites you to reflect on what you are creating in your life. What does it mean to share your prosperity? How do you balance sharing your prosperity with self-care? Because the truth is, the more we offer with an open heart, the more aligned and prosperous we become inside and out. So let's take a look at the Tao Te Jing. Lately, I've been sitting with the Tao Te Jing. I'm trying to return to its quiet guidance through all the chaos of modern life. And I read a number of different translations, but the one that I'm going to share with you here is by Stephen Addis and Stanley Lombardo. I like their translation because it was simple, and it's translation of chapter 3. So the first part of chapter 3 talks about how we get out of balance. So how are we flowing against the energy? And then the second part talks about how we get back in balance. So let's look at the first part, how to get out of balance. It begins with, don't glorify heroes and people will not contend. Don't treasure rare objects and no one will steal. Don't display what people desire and their hearts will not be disturbed. Okay, if I take just that and spend some time on my life, yeah, I can probably spend some time on this verse, but this passage isn't just the poetry, it's the lesson. It's a reflection of how desire leads to unrest and When our hearts are stirred by desire, whether it's for recognition, control, or more than we truly need, we fall into imbalance. So this teaching actually aligns beautifully with the energy of this month in East Asian medicine, because this month we are being asked to examine how we give, how we create, and how we support others in our relationships. So in this world, it's constantly telling us to strive harder, get more, do more. It's so easy to fall into the trap of greed disguised as ambition, or altruism fueled by this need for approval. And both of these can leave us depleted. Okay, so now we have all this information about being out of balance and how that can show up in our relationships. How do I get back in balance? That's why chapter 3 of the Tao continues with this wisdom. The sage rules by emptying the hearts and filling the bellies, by weakening ambitions and strengthening bones. Practices non-action, and the natural order is not disrupted. I read another interpretation by Stephen Stenoud, and he looks at this from a different angle. And he writes that, our society is obsessed with change. It's always pushing, always chasing, that there is something that is better and there is something that is not better. And the more we get of the better, the more prosperous we'll be. It's a lot of stress. But the Tao teaches us that opposition is not about right or wrong. It's got to be about this balance. So, just as night and day, they're both needed. So too are giving and receiving. And this month, when we look at prosperity, it's about how we encourage prosperity around us, and we give and accept in our relationships. And here's the heart of it. The balance of the 9th house lies between altruism and greed. Now, I've noticed how deeply these questions show up in my own life, especially in a world where corporations follow us into our homes, onto our phones, into our thoughts, constantly marketing the idea that consuming makes us worthy, that being seen makes us valuable, and it's exhausting. It's not wrong to want to be good at something, and it's not wrong to be acknowledged for your gifts. Let's go back to chapter 3 of the Tao Te Jing, which warns ourselves of desire as the root of unrest. And it says, don't display what people desire, and their hearts will not be disturbed. So desire, especially this desire to be recognized, can pull us out of balance. It can mask itself as generosity when really it's just this hope to be seen, to be validated, or to be chosen. And that's where we risk sliding into what I'm going to call performative altruism, which is where you give so much of yourself that you begin to disappear. So in Taoist thought, balance lives in the dance between opposites. So the dance between yin and yang, the dance between altruism and greed, the dance between giving and receiving. And if we reflect on these energies let's look at it through a gendered lens, because yin is often symbolized as feminine energy and yang is masculine. Well, if that's true, then it's kind of worth considering that, many women by nature or conditioning can lean towards overgiving and always there for others, always the one holding it all together. So the lesson for the feminine becomes learning to say, I matter too. And learning to set boundaries, to recognize when giving actually becomes self-erasure. So many men, in contrast, may be taught to seek dominance or recognition, to hold the spotlight, to accumulate and achieve. Their lesson becomes learning to share, learning to uplift others, to soften the grip on power. But this isn't about gender roles. It's about energy. And every person contains both yin and yang within them. The key is knowing which side you're over identifying with and where the imbalance is showing up in your life. The Tao doesn't ask us to be less. It invites us to be more aware. So to stop chasing recognition and return to offering, not from depletion, but from grounded wholeness. This April, ask yourself, am I giving too much, hoping someone will finally see me? Or am I withholding, afraid that giving might make me vulnerable? Where do I need to soften and where do I need to stand firm? This is the wisdom of the ninth house. And this is the medicine of the Tao. And this is the kind of prosperity that can't be bought, but must be lived. Okay, until next time, I'll catch you on the other side.